one person who is always there at the top of my mind, whom I pray every day. He is none other than late Professor Balabi Balachandran. He is a distinguished J.L. Kellogg professor. He was a distinguished J.L. Kellogg professor of accounting and decision sciences.
Great.
And also the founder of Great Lakes Institute of Management, and the founding dean of that campus. Had a profound impact on me. He always treated me like his son in the family. He is my guru, whom I pray every day.
I would like to call out one of my first hiring manager, Mr. Daniel Devaraj, is no more. Right. But having said that, fantastic leader. Fantastic leader. For him, people used to come first. Okay, people used to come first, and then that's my learning in the aspect.
Right.
Even if there is stress, I have seen him. It so happened that that was my initial part of my journey after my MBA. It so happened that I used to sit next to him and we used to talk a lot. It was very evident, even if there is stress, he manages the stress and let his people focus on the delivery aspects.
Excellent. Yeah.
As an organization, we went through a huge transformation, change. Right. It was early 2000. We went through a huge change. The first thing he did was he made his people. He made sure that the people under him are secure.
Right.
He made sure everyone is secure, and that he also grew in the process.
Absolutely. Right.
He stood up as a leader. So he was a great influencer for me in my initial days of my career, and then growing up into my journey. And these are some of the philosophies that went in very deep in me, saying that, hey, this is the way a leader should be.
Absolutely.
I'm going to get a little emotional. Yeah, I'll say what everyone says. My dad was a teacher, an English teacher, and he would never give up on his teaching habit. And even on the last 1 week that I spent with him in his deathbed, he was still teaching, and so that had a very perennial impact on me. It's a joy of teaching someone that I imbibed from my parents.
Great.
Apart from that, I worked from various wonderful bosses and horrible bosses, and I learned from both equally.
Right.
I think if you're willing to learn, everyone will have an impact on you.
Absolutely.
And honestly, Ravi, I'm not saying it like a cliched statement, but I really find joy learning even from kids.
Right.
And so I really can't single out, but I've learned from every single boss and colleagues. And I learned so much from you two and Praveen, whom you mentioned. And I think that really gives me a high when I'm learning and implementing it in my own life.
Great. Great, Pramod. Thank you.
Okay. Well, of course, Oscar season, I do have to thank my mother.
Lovely. Yes.
My mother absolutely was one of the first influences, and my father too, who sadly died at the age of 47 when I was only 15. And there's something about their leadership of us as a family. As I said earlier, they came from military background.
Right.
There was a lot of values that we had, which was about mutual respect. There was also around punctuality.
Right.
There was also about promising, fulfilling your promises. So number one, parents, mother and father. Then, of course, there's a number of people, certainly in my cultural adventures.
Right.
And one of the people that I'm closely aligned with at the moment is a man called Simon Pentanu. He happens to be the Speaker of the Parliament in Bougainville.
Right.
Now, Bougainville is an island that has experienced a huge environmental catastrophe because they had a huge seam and wealth of copper.
Right.
And basically, a big industrial oil company came along and extracted the copper, and they ruined the island. So what he's now doing is that he's finding a way to reclaim the Bougainvillians' power and going for separation from Papua New Guinea.
Right.
And he does it in a very gentle, very understated way. And yet he finds a way to reach people's hearts as well as their minds. So Simon Pintano and my two parents would already begin to be immediate examples for me.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nigel.
I would say personally, it's more of my mother.
Okay.
Right. And my mother is a very interesting personality. Right. And I learned a lot from my mother. Right. And simply because her thinking ability was very different from a normal person.
Right.
Right. So she can talk about Obama on the one angle. On the other angle, she can talk about Kanchipuram Shankaracharya. On the other angle, she will talk about Modi and his capabilities.
Wow. Okay.
Right. And straight away, she get into Kamala Hassan and Rajinikanth in Tamil movies. Right.
Excellent.
And she can correlate things from different industries and how you need to think differently. Right. So whenever I go to India, I meet my mother, I spend a lot of time talking to her. I enjoy that intellectual vibe of my mother. Right. And there is a simple thing which she told me, which I didn't agree, and maybe I share this with you. Suddenly one day she told me, you should become like a Google CEO called Sundar Pichai. Right. On a conversation, she just told me, I said, come on, man, are you a fool or what? Right. How do you think I'm 45? I can become like that. And I'm in Singapore doing a small company. And she said, you can. And I said, come on, you logically prove me how I can. You know how she proved it to me? She asked me the first question is, how far you both were born? We were both born in the same place, which is Chennai.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And where did he did his early education? In Chennai. What water he drink? He did Chennai water drink. And what food he ate? He ate the South Indian, vegetarian, Indian food.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of synergies between you and him. Right? It's just a matter of time.
Excellent.
Right? For some people, it will happen in 40 pumpers. Some people, it will happen in 60.
Yeah.
And it is what you're destined to. All you need to do is not giving up, keep trying.
Absolutely.
Right? Absolutely. And that stayed with me forever.
Excellent. Excellent.
Right? And that gives me the passion and motivation to get up every day.
Right.
Right? So it kind of, my mother lives in me always, even though she's not around. Right? And she was my kind of a very strong personal mentor.
You know, I think it's hard if anyone ever would say that their parents did not have a big influence in them. I think some of these things we realize much later in life. Initially, we sometimes after becoming a teenager, we think we know it all and they don't know it all. But I think at a basic level, most of us are influenced largely by our parents. So for me, clearly, my parents. So you know, my dad who was working in a company, and my mom who was a homemaker. So very different people with very different job responsibilities. So I always say that my dad provided me the hardware, the go for the engineering, go for the job and all of that, math, science, all those, he would teach me all that. And my mom provided the software, which is what do you think about? How do you think about life and all of that? So dad was a very big go-getter. He had come from a very humble background, and he had, no resources. So he always wanted to get ahead in life at all costs. So he was like that, and he became, MD of 3 companies before he retired in the public sector, which is unheard of, all that, right? So he's that. But mom, on the other hand, he was also very religious and, puja and all of that. Mom, on the other hand, somehow was, just be a good person type of a thing. Somehow I have taken upon her part on the software side, that you don't have to be a go-getter, you don't have to be a religious person, you don't have to be anyone, as long as you can be a nice human being. So I think I have acquired hardware from my dad, software from my mom, and that's who I am. Now, upon that, there have been so many people, who have influenced me deeply. I would say that in my corporate career, if I think of people that today also I'm in touch with, who have influenced me and continue to influence me,
One of my early bosses was Sandeep Bakshi, who's now the MD of the company. He has been a big influence in how I think, what I do. One of my early bosses, Romi Malhotra, who hired me into Dell, and prior to that in Standard Chartered. He has been a huge influence in my life. Now these are bosses, and there are some others, but there have been so many peers that there's a long list. There's so many people who were in my team. So I think I can go on, and I'm in touch with a lot of them. So while it's always good to name some people who have achieved greatness, but there are some others who may not have achieved corporate greatness, but they have taught a lot. So I think you have to pick up things from wherever you see them, irrespective of whether those people are qualified as great people or not, is what I have at least learned, and this is what I can suggest.
Family background where my mom is not well educated. My dad, of course, he said whatever you want to do, you do, and all that.
Right.
But there was a time when my mentor, when I just got into the platform just to, prove one of the trait in me. Somebody challenges, oh, you can't, a woman cannot be in this field,
Yeah.
You just 2000 is like a lot of stigma associated.
Yes.
You
Yes.
can't even go out and say, oh, I'm working with addicts and alcoholics and HIV people,
Yes.
because they don't even come near to you. That was the kind of a stage where I chose to get into this field. But my mentor said only one thing, that as long as you are here, I was applying abroad universities, and he said, even for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month you work, please put your honesty in this, learn everything, do justice, and then you decide.
Yeah.
And that is where I started reading. I started every client, even today, after 24 years, I say that any new client comes, it's a again, all your abilities are put in test. It's not just you are doing the same work. It's never boring, I would say. But yeah, life threatening. At times you get threats, at times you are praised, you are respected, at the same time you're cursed. So it all comes with the package here. But he was the one who made me to research, do the research proposal. And once I submitted, then my mom, she's the one who was you know, I could say blessed in disguise. She was put a kind of translator, and my mentor explained, oh, she did the research, she gets selected, she will be in this field forever. I don't know why she said yes, but she said, yeah, I'm happy. The translator may, I think, messed up, you know. But yeah, she never asked me, oh, it's risky, come back and all. But that was not my mom. She's always scary. Oh, never work with men. Oh, it is very risky job and all. But yes, all that has helped me too. Then my uncle, who actually made me to start up NGO, he was a big, support system in every way, morally, ethically, in every way. It was like seeing at, oh, I think anything he can handle. That made me to jump into this. And then
Yes.
post marriage, it was like my husband. Even today, he says, every place, bureaucracy you are talking about. So I remember, taking my brother, my husband everywhere, wherever I go. And they say, don't worry, nothing comes, it's okay. Use your knowledge as a tool, do whatever you wanted to do. So that kind of support was like really good, where it made me to, get into this journey of 24 years, and it's continuing.
Absolutely.
So yeah, they're all really, I would say, my strength. And my son, he's so proud. So when we in the schools, when we started this safety school club in Hyderabad, in with Cyberabad Commissionerate. So one of the vertical I'm heading is anti-drug abuse vertical.
Right.
Colleges, we started anti-drug abuse committee. So my son was like, always there. He makes videos, songs,
Wow.
and then captions. I don't know. He just become part of this. So yeah, I say that I'm blessed to continue this work and continue this journey, as long as all these people are there to support. So
yeah, this is a tough one, because if this goes on air and some names are not included, I might have a challenge at home and also at work. But I'll take a stab at it. I think one of the leaders that I've truly been blessed to work with, and I continue to work with, is Avik Mukherjee. He was heading the offshore delivery centers for Wells Fargo when I joined there in HR. few attributes. One is functionally, I think I have not come across somebody who is functionally so well equipped and so capable as a week across functions. I don't think I learned as much in HR from anyone else, including my B school, as I did from a week, right? And the other part, I think, is, we keep talking about this, which is humility and humaneness. It's unbelievable. I mean, there are a lot of people who want to continue working with him is because of that, right? And the third piece is empowerment. I think the way he would empower people.
Yeah.
I mean, he strongly believed that it's a people's business and HR is the conscience keeper of culture and people practices. So, I think all of us were fortunate to work with him because he didn't have to create that seat on the table. He personally believed that if I have a good, strong HR function, they should be there, right? So Avik Mukherjee is clearly one person that is top of the list. I think the other person is a lady called Smita Anand, who was my manager in PwC when I was doing HR consulting. Seldom have I come across somebody who is so high on emotional quotient. I think IQ was never a question, but such strong EQ really helped us, have that psychological safety, especially when it came to, playing around in the consulting world. I mean, we were kind of newcomers to HR.
Right.
And the way she helped and guided us into who we finally became perhaps is something that I always cherish. I think on the personal front, I would really talk about two people. One is, of course, my father. I mean, I haven't seen him in action, but and somebody had told me once that if I were even 2% of him, I would have probably been a great professional, which indirectly said that I was useless. But I think he overcame so many odds because he would never cease to dream. I think dreaming is something which is very important for each one of us. I mean, you need capability, but you should never stop dreaming, right? So in the professional life, he came from a background which was not an English medium school. He wasn't a qualified engineer, but he became the works manager of one of the biggest plants in Durgapur.
Right.
I've heard him address people in English, and I don't think I've heard anyone as well as he has.
Right.
And it was essentially because he dreamt that he would want to do well in life, right?
Right.
The third would be, I think, the other person in the personal life would be my wife. I think I've learned a lot from her in terms of, the passion and desire to do well, right? Accountability, taking accountability of one's action, getting things to closure, the energy, the drive. I think it's something which, at the same time handling, because she was, she left her marketing career and moved into sales. Moved into education, being part of schools. Handling children, handling parents, at the same time, never ever compromising on quality of the work.
Right.
Absolutely amazing. I think it's been truly a pleasure.
How about
to
your
learn.
daughter? You're forgetting your daughter there.
My daughter, yes. I think he's probably a good mix of the two of us, and thankfully more of my wife than me. I think, with her, apart from the fact that I see, and I think it's probably something which I see in this generation. I really have a lot of, respect and admiration for this generation. And I'm talking about a generation which has grown up in, metro cities. So they're perhaps different in terms of, how they've grown up, their access to information, than maybe somebody who has not been in a metro city. I think the clarity of thought and the amount of data that people have and the ability to connect data to logic is something which is truly remarkable, right? And that's another element which I forgot to mention earlier. For in any professional, I think this ability to work with data. We are talking about generative AI and all of that, but a step before, which is as HR and learning professionals, are we able to really understand data in a manner where we can create models? Some could be even descriptive, but going eventually to, models which are predictive.
Yeah.
I think very, very important, right? So I see that in the generation of today, that, the ability to kind of, understand data and link data to logic and their points of view is something I truly admire in my daughter, Ahana.
I've been following you on Facebook, so obviously the next question is your favorite of dogs. I mean, you've always had dogs. So what's the one you have now? What's the breed you have now?
So we have a big bear, in the house, which is a German Shepherd.
Yeah.
So the only thing is that, he looks like a bear and he's truly like Balu the bear. So he's extremely good and friendly and he's huge, right?
Yeah.
But, he's exceedingly friendly. So he's a rescue.
Right.
Right. And I've loved dogs because I've learned a lot from dogs, by the way. I think that, unalloying love and absolutely, it's very difficult to define the loyalty. So this fellow further reiterated that. So Leo, our dog, is a rescue. He was abandoned twice.
Right.
But his love for people and faith in people, I think, is something we all humans could learn from. Right. And I know I'm treading on dangerous ground because a lot of people are uncomfortable with dogs. But, try keeping one. Your life will become far more enriched than anything else. I mean, every time you get back home and whatever be the stress that you have accumulated at work or otherwise,
right,
you open the door, he's there, tail wagging,
right,
so happy to greet you, and you will never get that kind of affection, love, and loyalty from any other species that God created, perhaps.